Alright guys, so I chose the 1940s as my decade for American foreign policy. Up first, the first thing that I chose was World War II. You have the leaders of the Axis powers, which were Hitler, Mussolini. Those are the big two ones. You had Japan, but they got nuked. Against Britain, which had Churchill as their leader, Stalin, which was the leader of Russia at the time, the Soviet Union as they were known, and FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. A little bit of information about these guys. Hitler is kind of racist. Mussolini's a fascist. Churchill's crime, I guess, is, I don't know. He's British, so I don't really know much about them. Joseph Stalin, his crime is being a communist, and FDR, interesting enough, extended the Great Depression. So, but he helped us in the war, which is pretty swag. Why did we join in the first place? Well, tragically, in December, the soon-to-be nuked Japan, they got real angsty against us. They're going to get a little bit hostile, and so they kamikaze and bombed the heck out of one of our stations called Pearl Harbor. And America's like, nah, I'm coming over there. And so we joined. Our goal was to stop the Axis powers, Hitler and Mussolini. And we did. We ended up doing that. There's a couple videos by a funny guy called Oversimplified on YouTube if you want to check him out. Like Hitler, I'm also a terrible artist. However, the difference between us is that I don't go starting an entire war because my art stinks. So, if anyone wants to buy this, by the way, it's for sale. So, the second part of the American foreign policy that I chose was the Cold War. Start out a little cartoon thing I made of America versus the Russians. It was basically after World War II, America didn't really trust Russia because Russia and America were only allies because they both hated Germany. And once they stopped hating Germany as much as they did, what do? Start hating each other. And so, basically, it was an arms race to see who could have the biggest and baddest guns. American presidents, there were a good amount of them. There was Eisenhower, he was a former general. JFK got shot. LBJ, Lyndon Baines Johnson, he's really, really racist, actually. I don't really recommend following him or idolizing him. And Nixon, who is famous for wiretapping the Democratic Party, as the Republicans do. And so, basically, Gorbachev against these guys, trying to see who can have the biggest and baddest guns. I know for a fact that the Russians launched Sputnik. However, we landed on the moon first. So take that, Russia. We own the moon. And it started this whole conflict for a really long time. Started, like I said, in the 40s, but it didn't end until like 1991 when the Berlin Wall fell. Basically, the concept of the entire Berlin Wall was that America, after World War II, had to decide which countries got which land. And so we split Berlin into two. America would get an eastern part of it, Russia would get the western part. And so, because of that, Russia was like, I don't like your capitalist ideas. Capitalist scum. And so they put a wall up to not let people go by. Interestingly enough, Gorbachev wasn't really too strict. He was the newer guy. He was really pretty lax compared to all the other Russian dictators. However, he did outlaw certain things, especially jazz. So I guess if he were to see the B-movie, he would outlaw it, and the subsequent meme coming from it saying, do you like jazz? But in 1991, the Berlin Wall fell. The Soviet Union crumbled, and the Iron Curtain, which was the barrier between the European countries that America and Russia owned, it was lifted. Basically, America, I guess you could say, was the victor of the war that didn't even have a single bullet. The third and final one that I created, slide that I created for policy thing was the Marshall Plan. Basically, it was economic aid to Europe after World War II. So like I said, backtracking a little bit, World War II happened and ended. Europe, a lot of it was in shambles, especially Germany. Germany, holy moly, that place. I do not recommend going there for vacation. If you're going to go anywhere, don't go to post-World War II Germany, or like right after it. Basically, what we did end up doing was giving them some economic aid of $13 billion of taxpayers' hard-earned money. 135 if you want to envision it today. I mean, the human mind can't really envision a number that big. But it's that number, amount of money. Basically, what happened was Truman appointed Paul G. Hoffman and Averell Harriman as the heads of economic cooperation and came up with this idea. And it ended up working out. It was really successful for the Germans and the rest of Europe that it went to. So, yeah. They ended up doing a pretty good job over there. I mean, if you go there today, it's not really... They kind of cleaned it up a little bit. It looks a lot nicer. I think it'd be pretty cool to go there. Although I don't think they would like my artwork on the first slide. And what it also did was help establish a good friendship, sort of, between America and all the countries that it quite literally decimated by giving them money and showing that even though you were bad, we'll still help you out as long as you change. And they did so. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Word of advice, don't go to art school. I'm doing that, and hopefully I don't turn out as crazy.